Hello everyone, this is Pip.
And this is Kiki.
And we're back playing Remember 11. Let's just jump into it and get back into the mysteries of whatever the heck is going on.
Looking for Uni, I went over to his room. I haven't noticed any signs of Uni's presence in the room. Where did he go, I wonder? I peeked into the living room area and the underground storage area, but I couldn't find Uni. As a last resort, I returned to Satoru's room. Where is that kid at a time like this? Maybe the me at the shelter cabin is in danger at this moment. Mumbling meaningless words, I heaved a sigh. I felt that he was acting strange yesterday, but if I think about it again, it's no wonder. Doesn't Uni exist in both places, both Sphia and the shelter cabin? Moreover, when I met the Uni at Sphia, even though this is a strange way of referring to him, for the first time, he said that he vividly remembered the crash. That means that the Unis in both places have that memory. Just what does that mean? It was so hard to breathe, as if it was up to my neck in some kind of mire. What was engulfing me was a mire called Enigma. Pull yourself together, Kokoro. I should try to sort out my thoughts. I sat on the bed. I decided to lay out the problematic points one by one. First, problem number 1. Regarding the real situation of the personality exchange phenomenon. According to the note, I consider the existence of this body's personality, Yukido Satoru affirmed. This is the proof that suggests the personality exchange is really going on. But why the personality exchange occurred, the reason for it, the principle behind it, and the way to break free from this phenomenon, I didn't have the slightest idea about any of them. Personality exchange, those are really simple words, but behind them there is a very deep mystery. And the second problem, why are there 2 Unis? Both the shelter cabin and Sphia, I've seen Unis in both places. And both of them possess the memory of the crash. I've noticed that due to the personality exchange, my personality seems to be jumping back and forth between these 2 points. But isn't that a big mystery as well? I have 2 hypotheses for it. First, maybe they're twins. But even if they're identical twins, how likely is it for them to have both their family and given names be the same? Second hypothesis, one of them is a copy of the other. In other words, a clone. The law on cloning was passed in this country last year, in 2010. Before that, cloning had been banned outright on the basis of ethics, but this law was then drafted. There have been several issues surrounding cloning, but it looks like they have finally been resolved. But small number of clones may have integrated themselves into our society before the law was established. So it wouldn't be much of a surprise if Uni were a clone. And there's no telling what a clone will do when he's confronted with the fact that he's a copy of the original. And this is via a special psychiatric isolation facility. Could it be that Uni... No, wait. It's too early to reach a conclusion about this. I should confirm all this with Uni himself later. Third, why does the newspaper article mention the shelter cabin? The newspaper article describing our deaths and placed inside the cabin can't be explained by conventional logic at all. And then the fourth problem. What is the real purpose behind this facility? Inabushi Kiko, even though the present personality is Suzukage Hitori, has been placed under house arrest here. So this is probably Sphia, the location I was heading to. But Satoru and Uni are here too. Plus, there are only 4 people here altogether, which makes no sense. This should be a medical facility that accepts psychiatric patients. There should be doctors and other staff here. Plus, even if this place is meant to be a self-supporting facility, the level of freedom given to those committed here is much too high. Inabushi Kiko is a murderous monster who killed 12 innocent people. Even she isn't being restrained whatsoever. Any cooking utensil could turn into a deadly weapon in her hands. It's just too dangerous. Anyway you look at it, this facility seems strange. I was at my wit's end. There are too many mysteries to think about alone. I have a mountain of different things to consider. Feels like I'm being squashed under that mountain. That's right. I had forgotten about an important thing. Don't I have a valuable partner in all this? I have to reply to this note. I rushed to the table and picked up the pen with my left hand. I also have to ask about the continuation of the phrase, "my body is," that Satoru left unfinished. I braced myself and faced the blank sheet of the note. Only a single line, transfer, 1:07 p.m., was scribbled on it. Where should I start? Just as I thought, I flopped down onto the table. Of course, it'd be best to start with a greeting. However, I don't like that kind of formality. I thought of something good. Good idea. Why don't I make a cute little drawing? In that case, it should be something feminine and ladylike that reflects me. I have confidence in my skills. I may not look it, but I wanted to be an illustrator when I was in elementary school. What kind of drawing should I go with?
Draw a snowman, draw a bunny, or draw a tulip.
I think we should draw a tulip. That's girly.
Sure.
This will be a tulip that expresses the emotion of, "Come on, spring." But wait, is the tulip a spring flower? I'm not quite sure, but this is just a drawing, so I can ignore such trivial things. If you say tulips, you think of the Netherlands. I admire that idyllic scenery even now. In particular, I've always loved the huge water wheels there. Without wasting any more time, I started to draw. Let's draw around. Let's draw. Around. The pen had changed into a cup. Huh? What's this? Ow, hot. I was gripping a spoon in my right hand. In my left hand was an aluminum cup. Inside was piping hot rice, gruel with seasoning. I'm unable to comprehend the situation. My dumbfounded voice hung in the air.
Aren't you going to eat?
If you don't want it, then I'll help myself. From beside me, my cup was snatched away. Hold on. My gruel was snatched away by Mayuzumi. I see, so another personality exchange happened. I had to return to the shelter cabin again. The lodge adjoined with death, filled with the smell of burning firewood, combined with the piercing cold. That's right. I remembered to check the time on Satoru's note. I lifted my right arm in order to see my wristwatch. only to see that my beloved watch wasn't there. Huh? I impatiently searched within my memory. It wasn't in my pocket. I wonder if I've lost it. But when? I looked around and found my wristwatch in an unexpected place. It had been fastened with care to the bunk bed's ladder. Without understanding it at all, I removed my wristwatch from the ladder. Why is my wristwatch over here? Did Satoru take it off and fasten it there? Why does he think they call it a wristwatch anyway? While complaining, I fixed the wristwatch back onto my wrist. The time was 1:40. As I smelled the fragrant scent of the rice gruel, my stomach growled. It feels like my stomach is completely empty. Even though I just ate breakfast a moment before, was what I thought, but I realized that naturally was wrong. The one that ate breakfast was Satoru's body. It wasn't my own. Resentfully, I looked in Miyazumi's direction. It's your fault for not eating it fast enough. We're in life and death situation after all.
Even so, don't just take another's food.
However, if she were gulping it down, Mizumi finished eating the rest of the gruel. Phew, too bad I ate it. I can't give it back now.
Sheesh, it can't be helped. In an emergency situation like this, nothing's more dangerous than to start fighting over food. Why it's dangerous, I won't say though.
Yamagi's face creased in a frown. From that expression alone, it was clear what we wanted to say.
Geez, the only thing you can put effort into is your gluttony, you old lady. You're the type that squeeze your butt into a small space just to be able to sit down on the train, aren't you?
A brat like you should shut up. In times like this, it's the shameless ones that survive.
Your body's shameless too, so you should think about going on a diet.
What was that?
Hey, don't go wasting the energy you finally built up on such useless things.
Saying that, Yamagi held out his cup.
It's already half eaten, but do you want some? I'll share mine with you too.
I held my hand up in refusal. I'm not that hungry. It's fine. In that case, I'll... Mizumi made a grab for Yuni's cup, but her hand was slapped away.
If it's Lynn asking, I won't give you any.
Ow, you stingy. Mizumi's greed makes me want to...
Voice my objection or just keep quiet.
I don't know, I think we should have voiced my objection.
Yeah.
Mizumi-san, why don't you try to making a little bit of a compromise? Penal Code Article 37. To avoid imminent danger to oneself or others' life, body, freedom, or property. In the case that the level of harm the original danger would have caused is not exceeded, there will be no punishment carried out against the party in question. However, if exceeded, the penalty may be lightened or otherwise exempted, depending upon the circumstances. Ever heard of emergency measures? When you're about to die, it's okay to step over your partner, you know. Those are two completely different things, right? Unless we all help each other, we won't survive, right? Mizumi glared at me hatefully. The intensity of that glare made me flinch unintentionally. Stop it with the pretty words. Why don't you admit you're pissed that someone took your food? What? Mizumi quickly stood up from the table and returned to the corner of the room. It seems that had become her territory. Slipping into the nest of blankets she'd built, Mayuzumi hugged her knees and was still.
Don't worry about it.
As if to comfort me, Yamagi placed his hand on my shoulder. Thus the meal, savage in comparison to those at Spia, ended.
She's a bitch.
Yes, she is. She thinks she's all smart, too. Why is it that the flow of time feels so slow when there's nothing to do? In the end, what we call time is a subjective thing, vague and prone to frequent fluctuations. It felt like an eternity had passed since that meal. At long last, the outside had become wrapped in darkness. The four of us occasionally had fragmented conversations with frequent pauses in between, but most of the time was spent in continuing silence. As if starting the night watch, Yamagi had quietly camped himself in front of the drum stove with his eyes shut. It was probably to preserve his strength. Mayuzumi, too, had shut herself up in her own territory, having not moved even once. My stomach, which had gone without dinner, continued to make groaning sounds. Wanting to conserve my energy, I pulled my blanket over my head like the other two had and kept my eyes shut. Due to the hunger, it felt as if the stomach had a fever. I struck my stomach with my fist and endured the hunger. That's right. I thought that the sensation of hunger was a clue as to the true nature of the situation. The personality exchange occurred, and I remembered getting hungry, even though I had eaten my fill at Sphia. In that case, it showed that the entirety of our bodies didn't change as well. It was a strange hypothesis, but with this, I could reject the possibility that my body had transformed into that of Yukito Satoru and jumped over there. I advanced my speculation while watching the steam rise from the kettle. It was my brain that felt hunger. The feeling of the need to eat comes from a signal sent out by nerves in the digestive system that is felt as hunger. Then, it could be wrong to think that our brains were switching back and forth, wouldn't it? As to the likelihood of that, I tried to find some way to verify it. However, I concluded that it was impossible to do so. I felt hungry immediately after transfer, as soon as my body became that of Fuyukawa Kokoro. If our brains themselves had switched, the blood inside the brain should have accumulated sugar to be used for energy to some extent. In other words, I shouldn't have remembered that I was hungry immediately. It would be appropriate to think that my mind never separated from my body in this world, and that the hunger signal was continuously being sent out. In the first place, seriously thinking that my brain could have jumped is pretty stupid, huh? I murmured it in a small voice. Even my brain jumped into Satoru's skull and perfectly united with the nerve tissue of his spinal cord with a pop. What awaits after that would be a rejection response attack beyond all imagination. Something like swapping brains is nonsense. As expected, this can only be interpreted by my personality, my consciousness being exchanged. There's no other explanation. But what is consciousness in the first place? The me at Sphia was definitely Fuyukawa Kokoro's personality. It had entered Yukito Satoru, but it was me. If I borrow the figurative comparison from Satoru's note, the driver operating the cart known as Yukito Satoru is unmistakably Fuyukawa Kokoro. The reason I think the me in that world and the me in this world are the same is what? What is me to begin with? While thinking this, I came to a single conclusion. It's because our memories were connected. But wait a second. Weren't memories located in the brain? I saw this documentary on TV. As it pointed out, the mechanism called memory is, simply put, a network of neural circuits. For example, say you wanted to memorize the word apple. When memorizing the word apple, it is necessary for your brain cells to branch into dendrites and lengthen into each other, connected to the synapse. Physically, it is red, circular, and a fruit. A variety of different elements must be remembered in combination for you to be able to recall it. The circuit necessary for remembering apple requires the recollection of the word apple to be completed. In other words, memory is asking, in what pattern are you? It goes without saying, but Satoru's brain and my brain are different. Even so, the memories that were supposed to have been engraved in my brain only were recalled by Satoru's brain. Does this mean that the moment my consciousness flew into Satoru's brain, the neutral network inside the brain changed and connected in the shape of Fuyukawa Kokoro's memories? Is something like that even possible? Or is it that the host computer is in my school in this shelter cabin, and only the client terminal is where Satoru is? Like a remote control robot. Rather than the neutral circuitry of the brain changing in the...
Neural. You keep saying neutral.
What I said neural. Rather than the neural circuitry of the brain changing in the blink of an eye, the possibility of this being the case feels much higher. I wrapped myself up in my blanket and lay down with a small thud, or soft thud. My head was starting to hurt from all this thinking. Suddenly, I noticed both Yamagi and Uni letting out a groan similar to mine.
Is it because it got wet after all? Because it got covered in snow when we reached this cabin? I think so. If we had a radio, we'd at least have a source of information.
The two of them were looking at a portable radio they were holding, scrutinizing it carefully. Feeling revitalized, I inquired. That radio, what's wrong with it?
It was inside my coat pocket. I noticed it just now. But I can't hear anything very well. If we dry it, we might be able to use it, though. Alright, time to test it. Want to try taking it apart?
Why do men always recklessly try to take things apart?
Huh? Don't we have a screwdriver? Let's use a knife instead.
Yamagi seemed somehow cheerful and took a survival knife from his breast pocket. He tried to unscrew the radio using the knife's edge, but the knife was too large in the first place, so it was a fierce battle.
It's no good. Disassembly is impossible. How disappointing. It's no surprise.
Having expressed his disappointment, Uni returned the radio to his pocket. And with his hand in his pocket, he put on a smile as if he were playing a trick.
Hey, Kokoron.
Uni rushed over and brought his face close to mine. What?
Come here for a second.
He said with lowering his voice and winking. Pulling at my hand, Uni led me toward the basement storeroom. What is it, Uni? When we reached the underground storeroom, Uni glanced around to confirm that no one else was there. And then, with a smile that looked as if he'd come up with a good prank, he put his hand in his pocket.
I'll give these to you.
In the palm of his hand were 2 candies.
They were in my pocket, but there aren't enough for everybody. Let's secretly eat them ourselves.
But eating them in secret?
Kokoron, you didn't get to eat lunch, right? That's why, okay? And besides, these are mine. Let's eat them before Tomby finds out we have them.
Tomby probably refers to Mayuzumi. I thought it'd be unfair to the other two upstairs, but... Growl. Fukawa Kokoro's body was hungry. It's not like we can break up hard candy and divide it between us. That's true. It's not really fair, but I guess I'll have one.
That's how it should be. Which one do you want, Kokoron? There's melon flavored and pineapple flavored ones.
Let's see.
Melon or pineapple?
Let's do melon. I guess I'll have the melon flavored one.
Oh, how high class. So fancy.
Uni placed the hard candy firmly in my hand. Somehow it felt as if we were in a candy store. Hey, thanks. I unwrapped the candy and tossed it in my mouth. It may have been a melon taste artificially produced using sweeteners, but it was very delicious.
Huh? Now that I think about it, are you alright with melon flavored stuff, Kokoron?
Uni smiled while popping the pineapple candy into his mouth. What do you mean?
I thought you might hate it.
Why?
Well, Kokoron hates cucumbers, right? They say melon flavoring is derived from cucumber honey, don't they? I was wondering whether someone like Kokoron, who was from a certified pedigree of cucumber haters, would be fine with melon flavor.
Cucumbers and melons are completely different. If you ask how different they are, it's like the difference between something that's edible and something that's not.
Did you get picked on by a cucumber in your previous life, Kokoron?
That might be. We both rolled the candy around in our mouths and smiled.
Hey, Kokoron.
Hmm?
Wanna get married?
Huh? Pardon me, but what did you just say now?
I said let's get married.
Huh? How did you get on this topic? What's this kid saying all of a sudden? My face turned red as I replied. Uni's sudden request had panicked me, and I was suddenly angry. Something like that can only come about when two people mutually agree on it together.
Do you hate me, Kokoron?
Of course I don't.
Then that means you like me, right? I like Kokoron too. Okay, now it's official.
That's wrong.
Jeez, I was just kidding. You didn't have to get so angry.
Jokes have their limits too.
I guess.
But if you and I got married, it'd be Kasudu Kokoro, wouldn't it?
That's not set in stone, right? Didn't you know the dual surname bill? It was passed in 2008.
Ah, now that he mentions it, that's right. But when I get married, I want to change my name to be the same as my spouse's. It's a dream of mine. After a moment of friendly chatter, I gathered my resolve and decided to ask him.
Is Uni a twin or Uni a clone? So stupid.
I think the clone sounds stupid.
Well, they're both stupid.
I know.
Alright.
Uni, you're not a twin or anything, right? Uni exists as two people. The simple solution would be if he were a twin. If he were a twin, that would take care of the contradiction of witnessing him both at Sphia and here. However,
I'm not a twin.
I see. It seems things don't always work out so easily in this world. Uni placed his hand on the ladder, grinning like the Cheshire cat.
Well, I'm going back up. If the two of us are alone for too long, they might get suspicious. They might think we're doing something dirty.
Children shouldn't say things like that. After I said that, Uni looked up at me with a glance that gave me chills.
Want to test whether I'm a child or not?
What? My heart started beating harder at his strangely seductive way of speaking. My cheeks reddened ever so slightly.
Geez, Cochran, too? Are you really 20? Aren't you really a child?
Hey.
It was only a joke. Don't get angry, Cochran.
Uni apologized and teasingly stuck out his tongue. And, keeping one hand on the ladder, he pushes his hair back with the other. He did it as if he were some female judo athlete.
It's not as if I'm setting my hair to put a sign there.
Pointing at the clothing at his chest.
It's not like I had my initials embroidered and my shirt's colors don't have any really special characteristics.
What are you trying to say?
I don't think I have anything that would hint toward me having a twin. Why were you curious about something like that? You're strange, Cochran.
An oddly precautious smile on his face, Uni said those last few words and climbed up the ladder. It was a single reason I thought he had a twin. Because I had witnessed 2 Unis. If he doesn't have a twin, how else is it possible to encounter the same person in 2 places? Both this shelter cabin and Sphia. I had unconsciously crushed the candy into 2 tiny pieces while pondering, even though I wanted to take my time eating it. I rolled the candy that had become as small as a grain around on the top of my tongue and enjoyed the fruit flavor. And then I realized, how does that boy know what my tastes are? I talked about them when we were eating breakfast at Sphia. Other than that time, I've talked about which foods I hate. In other words, does this mean that the Uni that I had breakfast with at Sphia and the Uni that just gave me candy held the same memories? They hold the same memories? Just a moment ago, I was thinking of something similar. About the relationship between memory and the brain. About the personality jumping to somewhere else in the world. It can't be. My heart jumped when I realized one possibility. Was Uni experiencing a personality exchange just like us? Whenever Satoru and I underwent a personality exchange, perhaps Uni's personality was undergoing an exchange as well. No, I can't say whether it's at the same time or not. However, it was at least certain that Uni had been transferring between this shelter cabin and Sphia like we were. The Uni that heard me speak at Sphia had jumped over here. But how can Uni be both here and in Sphia? In Satoru's and my case, we exchange bodies. Perhaps in Uni's case, he occasionally gets the same body? Occasionally the same body? I was amazed at the silliness of my own idea. As Uni's memories remains continuous between the shelter cabin and Sphia, maybe his personality was jumping like ours were. Or so I deduced. However, that deduction didn't provide any answers about the mysterious phenomenon of seeing Uni in both places. Uni said that he wasn't a twin. If that's the case, then having an identical body over on the other side is impossible, isn't it? Wait. Who said that Uni even had 2 bodies at the same time? It might be that I'm simply misunderstanding things. When I'm at Sphia, I have no idea what the situation is in the shelter cabin. When I'm in a shelter cabin, I have no idea what the situation is at Sphia. Which means, and this is at the very most hypotheses, what Uni is experiencing is, to borrow a word from the science fiction, teleportation, is it not? Moreover, can it be considered that at the same time my personality transfers, both Uni's personality and body transfer as well? In other words, Satoru doesn't meet with Uni. Uni is constantly by my side. On top of that unexplainable phenomenon, to pile on even more mysterious logic, the cruelly distorted thought came to me. Right now, I can think of only one possible explanation for the events happening around me. There's a way to verify it. It would be best to just ask Uni. But I wonder. Uni hasn't shown any signs of being confused. You'd actually want to consult with others if you fall into a situation where you're teleporting between places. Until I get my hands on some solid proof, I hold off on asking Uni. Those were my thoughts. I won't confuse him unnecessarily. Because we're on the brink in an extreme situation here, which could be called a disaster. I nodded to myself once and put my hand on the ladder to climb up. When I go up, I see Yamagi sitting in a chair doing knife maintenance. He's wiping the blade of the knife with a cloth. Wondering what he was doing, I went to Yamagi's side. Maintenance?
Yeah. I tried to use it to disassemble the radio earlier, right? It might have gotten some oil on it then. Wiping off the impurities when you finish using it is a common sense when using a knife.
Yamagi continued to carefully wipe the blade as he said that.
A knife is a delicate thing. If you don't take care of it on a regular basis, it might not be of any use when you need it the most.
After he finished wiping, Yamagi started to carefully check the knife.
Yep.
It seems it was perfect. He nods in satisfaction. Then, sheathing the knife, he placed it on the surface of the table.
Well then, I guess I'll check on the fire in the stove.
Leaving the knife where it was, Yamagi walked over to the stove. I picked up the knife out of curiosity. It was considerably heavy. Its weight was much greater than I imagined from its appearance. I pull it out from the sheath. The overall length was about 34.5 centimeters. The blade itself was about 20 centimeters in length. The blade was thick, about 5 millimeters at the blunt end. Wow, it looks really sharp. Rather, it really hurt if someone was cut with this. It's like a combat knife used by French mercenary troops.
Hey, that's dangerous, so be careful.
Yamagi noticed that I had taken out the knife without permission and told me to take care.
You'll cut yourself.
Don't worry so much, I say baselessly. I softly touched the blade of the knife. The chilly coolness transferred to my fingers. But wow, this is a good knife, isn't it?
Whoa, don't be touching the blade. I just finished wiping it down. The oil from your fingers will rub off.
Sorry. I tried to apologize, and at that instant... Uh-oh, we're transporting again. When I came to, Itsumi was standing in front of me. I jumped again. Flustered, I looked at the alarm clock above the bed. It was 6:03. As I turned to look, Itsumi had suddenly grasped my arm. Her face had a ghastly expression. No, more one of anxiety. Is something wrong? Something. I feel uneasy. Uneasy? Itsumi nods slightly. I have a very bad feeling. For example, yes. Like an earthquake is about to happen. An earthquake? Yes, it'd be nice if it were just my imagination. This is Hokkaido, isn't it? That's right, an island off the coast of Wakanai. Does Hokkaido get a lot of earthquakes? My image of earthquake equals at Tokai region around the Eastern Sea. Earthquakes happen all over Japan. Even if Hokkaido, there are instances where earthquakes cause a lot of damage, like the case of the Okashiri Island earthquake, right? I remember hearing about that earthquake. With a kind smile, Itsumi said, "Sorry, it's fine if it's just my imagination. I apologize if I made you feel anxious." Not at all. You've become Fuyukawa-san again, haven't you? This time I answered with a yes. It felt as if the floor had disappeared. My body floated as if it were falling. No, a big tremor. It's an earthquake. As I thought. I caught the staggering Itsumi in my arms. Huddling together, the two of us crouched to protect ourselves against falling objects. Crashing sounds came from things falling in the kitchen. This was probably a pretty severe one. It's going to be a lot of trouble to clean up. The moment I had that thought, along with the ear-splitting sounds, all the lights disappeared. The earthquake caused a blackout. We heard a scream from a distance. It was Juni's voice. Hattori was probably screaming voicelessly as well. I have to get them. Within the violent shaking, Itsumi tried to stand. I grabbed onto her arm. No, walking around now would be dangerous. But the children. Let's go when the shaking settles. The intense tremors settled down after about 30 seconds. Itsumi stands up to snap to her feet and flies out of the room. I followed after her.
Yuni's room or Hattori's room?
Let's go to Yuni's room.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go check on Yuni. Itsumi nodded without turning and ran toward Hattori's room. Yuni, are you okay? He came flying into Yuni's room. He was crouching in the corner of the room with a blanket pulled over his head. It was like when we first met in this room. Face distorted in terror. Large teardrops flowing from his eyes.
I'm scared. I'm scared. Kokoran.
You're safe now. He may be remembering the plane crash. The sensation of falling it with a sudden jerk was similar to the gravity loss on that airplane.
Kokoran, don't leave me.
It's alright, I'm here. I'll hold your hand, okay? I gripped onto Yuni's palm firmly with my hand. Just like at that time in the crash.
You aren't Kokoran.
Crying, Yuni clung to me.
I was so scared.
Don't cry, it's okay now. Still crying, Yuni hugged me tight. I rubbed his small back again and again. Is Unicum safe? Itsumi had entered the room. She was gently holding Hattori's shoulder. Hattori's face was blue, but it didn't seem as if she was injured. Somehow, he's alright. A somewhat relieved look had appeared on Itsumi's face, but her expression was still stiff. Thank goodness. But we can't relax yet. Why? Because it's not certain that there won't be a tsunami. Tsunami? The image of a tsunami and the sea during winter didn't connect immediately. Yes, in the Okashiri earthquake, a lot of damage was caused by tsunami. A Usagi Island is in a similar geographical position. We can't let our guard down yet. Hitori grabbed onto Yusumi's arm with anxiety on her face, while gently stroking her head. It's going to be fine. I'll protect you properly until the end.
Are we going to die?
There's no way that'll happen, right? We'll definitely be fine. Feeling Uni's hand shaking, I clasped it tightly once again. Isn't there any way to protect ourselves from a tsunami, like climbing up to higher ground?
How about the clock tower? If we're there.
Utsumi shook her head from side to side. I don't know how to get up to the clock tower. What? You don't know? Yes, Yukidokan might know, but... However, Satoru's personality isn't here right now. Then we can only pray that there won't be a tsunami? It seems so. In slower cases, it can take a tsunami over 10 minutes to come. In the darkness, we made our way to the living area mostly by touch. Because the living area had a large window, it was slightly brighter there. Tableware had scattered on the floor of the kitchen and the living area in the shock of the earthquake. There were also broken objects there. Things like kitchen knives had fallen too, so it was dangerous. Looking at it made me once again realize that a huge earthquake had occurred. The television was still plugged into the power supply, but the blackout had made the screen go dark. We're unable to obtain any information. With me holding onto Uni's trembling shoulder, we gathered ourselves together and held our breath. Thinking we might be able to hear the sound of tsunami approaching, we strained our ears. The 10 or so minutes that passed felt like eternity. What we heard was only the roaring of the raging snowstorm. The ominous sound of an approaching wave never arrived.
I wonder if we're safe now, Kokoran.
He called me Kokoran. He had only ever called me that when he was scared. But it made me really happy whenever he called me Kokoran. Grasping his hand, I opened my mouth. We couldn't stay together until the end of the time of the crash, but we're together now, right? That's what I intended to say. However, my consciousness was cut off there. Again, the sensation. The sensation of the boundary line of the body being lost and everything melting away. A floating feeling where you don't even know whether you're facing up or down. That and there is no unease. An absolute feeling of relief rules over me. For all eternity. If only I could remain in this time for all eternity. When I came to, I was inside the shelter cabin. Wrapped in a blanket, I was watching the fire in the stove. I should have been shivering in fear of earthquakes and tsunamis just a few seconds ago, but the current me was shivering from the cold instead. In many ways, I had no time to relax. If things continue this way, sooner or later, I'm likely to just collapse, both mentally and emotionally. Right, I needed to check the time. I looked down at the watch on my right wrist. Huh? It was gone again. Geez, what is going on? Getting irritated, I looked around and saw it lying on the table. I looked at the face of the watch. The hands were pointing to 6:36. 6:36, huh?
What's wrong? You're muttering to yourself.
Yumagi peeked at my face, his expression worried. It's nothing at all. I was just thinking about something.
That tone, Fuyukawa-san?
Yes. Looking as if he wanted to say, "Oh, brother," Yamagi scratched his head. Then his bearded face distorted into a forced smile.
Dinner is hardtack biscuits. They don't taste like anything, but it's better to eat them. You went without breakfast after all.
I'd only had a single lick of a hard candy, so my stomach was painfully empty. Thanks for the meal. Yumagi handed me a can of biscuits and a cup of chamomile tea. I tossed the biscuits into my mouth. Indeed, they had no taste at all. I had a bite of one yesterday too, and I still definitely couldn't call them delicious. I guess expecting the emergency rations to be delicious is too much to ask for, though. But even then, I had to eat. If I didn't eat, I wouldn't live. I washed down the biscuits with chamomile tea.
Do you know why the people who set up this cabin had chamomile tea put in here?
You said that it has a calming effect, but is there some other specific reason?
It's not much of a reason, but chamomile tea also helps with insomnia. In extreme situations like this, your nerves get excited, and it becomes harder to sleep, right? It was in consideration of that, so we could relax even a little and get some quiet sleep.
But wouldn't it be dangerous to fall asleep on a snowy mountain? In stories like this, people are always saying things like, "You'll die if you sleep," and slapping each other awake and stuff, right?
It's true that when hypothermia sets in, you feel a sudden drowsiness, but as long as it isn't that, it's best to sleep when you can. If you don't sleep, you use a considerable amount of physical strength. The reason they had chamomile tea here was out of consideration for that.
Saying that, Yamagi stuck a finger deep into the can of biscuits. He picked out a piece of rock sugar and placed it in his cup. And then he smiled at me, as if to say I should try doing the same. Just as he had, I tried putting a lump of rock sugar into my cup of chamomile tea. It was a little hot, but I stirred it with my finger. The sweetness added to the chamomile tea felt as if it was penetrating every corner of my tired body. You know a lot, Yamagi-san.
I don't know a lot at all. I only know a lot about the mountains. Now, even saying that I know a lot about mountains is a little misleading. I don't know about anything besides mountains. The world, fashion trends, politics, the economy. I don't know anything outside of mountains. Especially...
A voice rang from the corner of the room and interrupted his speech. If you know that much about mountains, then do something about the situation. This is your home ground, isn't it, Mr. Mountain Man? Yamagi shrugged his shoulders.
Especially the beings known as women. I know less about them than anything.
Meizumi, who until now had been lying around, wrapped in her blanket, raised herself up. Raising one eyebrow, she stared at Yamagi. Just which era are you from? Meiji, Taisho, or maybe Jurassic?
I was born in the Cretaceous period.
A trilobite, huh?
I'll refrain from making a comeback to that for the time being, but trilobites aren't from the Cretaceous period.
You know, saying things like, "I know less about women than anything," isn't fashionable anymore.
That's why I said I don't know anything about changes in fashion, right? Just be quiet and go to sleep, Miyazumi.
Don't order me around.
You know, I'm not trying to threaten you, but without exaggerating, a snow mountain is truly a grim reaper. Starting with the weakest person and working up, it snatches away each life without fail. It won't show you an ounce of sympathy or mercy.
Meizumi faltered at his gravestone and retreated to her usual sitting position.
Understand? Stop wasting your energy. Preserve your strength as much as you can before the fire goes out.
Wait a second. What do you mean, before the fire goes out? Don't just let it go out.
The number of matches we have is limited. Because you were always saying, it's cold, we used them without even trying to ration. With only this amount left, either tomorrow or the day after, we'll...
Enough joking around. Do something before that happens.
Something, you say. What do you want me to do?
Wearing her blanket like a mantle, Miyazumi pointed to the door of the cabin. Go and call for help, this instant.
Yeah, understood, Your Majesty.
Yamagi went down into the storeroom with his bag in hand. Without hesitating, he gathered all the mountain climbing equipment and returned.
Well then, I'm going.
Surprised at Yamagi's words,
Stop Yamagi, warn Miyazumi.
I think we should warn Miyazumi.
Alright.
Miyazumi-san. Jeez, what are you yelling about all of a sudden? Miyazumi opened her eyes wide as if surprised. There's no way he can just go for help that easily. In a snowstorm like this, even Yamagi-san would die. You don't even get it, do you? What's with the attitude? The guy himself said he'd go, so what's the problem?
Yeah, it's just as Miyazumi said. I'm finally in the mood to go, so don't try and stop me, Fuyakawa-san.
Saying that, Yamagi raised a finger in front of Miyazumi's face.
1 week to get down the mountain.
With a quick movement, he raised another finger.
And 1 week to call the rescue team and then return here.
What? Ignoring the surprise in Miyazumi's face, Yamagi pulled his fingers together. Or put his hands together.
Sorry, Miyazumi. So that means I'll be out for 2 weeks. If someone comes, let them know that.
Right in front of me, as I stood there dumbfounded, Yamagi's hand reached for the door.
Bye then.
Wait right there. Flustered, Miyazumi closed the door. She grabbed Yamagi's arm and yelled, "Are you gonna leave us here to die?"
You're the one who told me to go for help.
I didn't think it would take so long. Yamagi threw his back to the floor and glared at Miyazumi.
When you're trapped on a mountain, the selfishness of a single person can lead to the death of the entire team. It's not just your behavior. If there's a single person who goes on idiotically like you, it will form cracks in the unity of the team.
You don't have to get so worked up. Miyazumi looked down and wrapped herself in her blanket as if sulking. Going back to her territory, she sat down and hugged her knees. As if to calm himself down, Yamagi took a deep breath and sat next to Miyazumi. And shifting his tone from violent to gentle, he continued.
Okay, I'm begging you, Miyazumi. Listen to me if you want to survive. I can tell somewhat that you're the kind of woman who hates doing what men tell you to. But to survive on a snowy mountain, we need a united will. After a disturbance in harmony like this, death starts to creep nearer. That's what a snowy mountain is like. I'll listen to as many of your gripes and complaints as you want once we're saved, okay?
Miyazumi had buried her face in her knees, but now cast a sidelong glance at Yamagi. Perhaps Yamagi's words had moved her heart. That's what I thought, but... I'm tired all of a sudden. Hey, I want to wash my face, so could you draw a bath?
You...
Yamagi clenched his fist and made a face as if saying, if you weren't a woman, I'd really let you have it. trembling and quivering. Now, calm down, Yamagi-san. Huh, what an idiot, taking it so seriously. I was just kidding. Maizumi put the rock sugar from her biscuit into her mouth and chewed on it as she jumped onto the top bunk. It must have been vexing for her to have been so defeated by Yamagi's sound arguments. Eyes fixed on the wall, Maizumi wasn't looking this way. Yamagi released his clenched fist and took a deep breath.
Hey, Furukawa-san, why did I ever save a woman like that? Maybe you fooled around too much in your past, or it wouldn't have been like you to not save her, Yamagi-san. I think probably the second one.
Yeah, let's pick the second one. It wouldn't have been like you to not save her, Yamagi-san. When I tell him my true feelings, Yamagi's shoulders droop.
Stop that. If you say something like that, I won't be able to abandon you if the situation calls for it.
You were planning on abandoning me?
If I thought we'd lost all hope of being saved.
In other words, as long as there's a chance that we'll be saved, you'll come and save me, right?
You could say that, but the way you put it is a little embarrassing.
Yamagi scratched the tip of his nose and sat down in front of the stove. He was still wearing all the equipment he had prepared to go for help. How about we put away your things? It's not like you're gonna go call for help anymore, I said, growing anxious. I didn't think he was going to leave us, but the fact that he remained ready to go at any time scared me. If he disappeared, I didn't think we would make it by ourselves.
No, I was planning on going out anyway.
Where?
Don't get so upset, Furukawa-san.
But...
I'm going to the crash site. There might be a wireless device somewhere within the wreckage. A flight recorder or something else with a source of electricity, right? There might be a power source that works for wireless devices, too. However, the chances of finding one in perfect condition are close to zero, but it's worth a shot, don't you think? There might be food and other useful things might turn up, too.
But if you go out in a blizzard like this...
I'm going when the blizzard settles down a bit. If I went out now, even I would die.
As I ran my hand down his chest, I looked up at him. Please be careful, okay? You're the only one we can rely on here. Yamagi scratched his nose in embarrassment and nodded while looking away. It's about time when you go to search. It's about when you go to search in the wreckage. Of course, I want to help out as much as I can.
You don't have to worry about that.
No, that's not it. That's not what I meant. How do I say this? It might be that when the time comes, I won't be myself anymore.
You mean Yukado-kan, right?
Right.
In that case, if I happen to be Satoru
at that time, can you tell him this? Help Yamagi-san out as much as you can. I said it seriously, but Yamagi raised his voice in laughter.
There's no way I could say something like that myself.
That's true. Yamagi slapped his knee.
I just remembered. I forgot to tell you something important.
Something important? While searching in his pocket, Yamagi-san said,
Well, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but for me, you two are one and the same. Even if your personality changes, it's difficult to recognize you as a different person. Your face and appearance are the same, after all.
What are you trying to say? Yamagi, who was fumbling around in his pocket, took out a thin piece of paper.
This is it.
He handed it over to me. It was the thin paper you peel off the surface of a cardboard boxes. Several characters had been written on it.
Yukado-kan told me to give it to you.
That's a note? Satoru had left me a note here as well.
He told me to give that to Furukawa-san if she returned. But it's not like Furukawa-san opens the door and says, "I'm back," or anything like that. That's why I completely forgot. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, somewhat. Yamagi seemed to want to make an excuse for why he had forgotten to pass me the note, but that didn't matter at all. In an emergency situation like this, asking for perfection is unfair. I didn't have any intention of blaming him. Instead, I was unbearably anxious about Satoru's note. I want to read the note.
Yeah.
We should stop.
Alright, we're gonna stop here.
Alright, wonder what the note will say.
We'll find out next time.
Alright, thanks for listening.
If you like the video, make sure you do what you're supposed to do. Well, see you next time.
See ya.